Hello, Buckeye fans, and welcome to the Woody Hayes Athletics Center. We are here right after Ohio State interviews on Tuesday of Michigan week. I'm Patrick Murphy, Dave Biddle, Steve Hellwagon. The Buckeyes did things a little differently this week. Well, they did the same as every Michigan week. Everybody was today. All of the interviews were today. So I'm going to ask each of you one thing that stood out maybe as kind of the overarching theme of today when we talked to Ryan Day, Jim Knowles, Cody Simon, Marvin Harrison, Kyle McCord, Emeka Egbuka, Denzel Burke. Dave, what was your kind of overarching theme from these guys?
They saved the best for last. Denzel Burke was not holding back. I'm here for it. I mean, he was focused. That's another thing I take with these guys they're locked in. You can just tell to a man they're just locked in. But Denzel, more so than anybody. I mean, he was asked, what stands out about Michigan's offense? He said nothing. And then he said, was talking about the last 2 years, and especially his freshman year, he didn't really understand the rivalry going up to Ann Arbor. He said, now we do after these last 2 years. And then he said, and people are going to take this and run with it. He didn't guarantee victory, but you're going to see people twist his words. He did say, we're going to get the job done for the state of Ohio. And he mentioned in the state of Ohio again how much he wants to win this game for the state of Ohio, for his teammates, for his coaches. He's a young man from Arizona. I just loved what we heard from Denzel Burke. I mean, talk about being locked in. They're all locked in, but number 10 is extremely locked in.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was very striking the way that he came out. Emeka Egbuka, on the other hand, was very measured with everything that he had to say, very cautious about the way he approached it.
Didn't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, didn't want to say the wrong thing. Ryan Day, to me, I think very businesslike and very understanding of what this means. Talked about how his daughter really only knows the state of Ohio and that this means everything for him and his family, and they want to get it done as well. He was asked, does he respect Jim Harbaugh? I think Rob Aller from the Dispatch asked him point blank after the questions that were posed to Jim Harbaugh yesterday, and he's like, preparation for this game is all we're really focused on, and those kind of things.
Just similar to what Harbaugh said.
Well, that was basically what Day said. Day kind of took the high road and basically said that he respects the rivalry by working it every day. And he said after some of the things that have gone on here of late, and in this you could put the Michigan spying scandal, which he didn't say, but I just did. He's like, we're not going to go there. We're not going to discuss that. And we're not going to think about those things. We're just going to concentrate on the game. So to me, it was about business as usual for the most part. The Denzel Burke thing, a little bit of a departure. But again, just shows how important this means to these guys and, how much is at stake this year in the tone of the rivalry, all of it.
Yeah, the scandal is something that obviously comes up quite a bit. Ryan Day's been asked about it. Some players have been asked about it even before this week. Dave, they don't want to talk about it, and it's understandable why, but they know what's going on. I mean, they've talked about trying to insulate themselves from everything and whatnot, but it's impossible to not. I mean, they play SportsCenter upstairs in the meal room, and that's all that's been on SportsCenter when they talk college football these last few weeks. How much do you think really these players can kind of separate that from what's going to happen on Saturday, or how much do they use that, if at all?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter. If you're Ohio State, you have to embrace that if you're Ohio State. And yeah, they're not going to talk to the media about it or talk about it publicly. I have no doubt in the locker room and when they're having lunch or whatever it might be. When they're behind closed doors, they're talking about it. There's just no doubt about it. But I am sure what happened here is the coaches, the players themselves got together like, we have nothing to gain by talking about this and airing our true feelings to the media. We have nothing to gain. We know how we feel about it. We're pissed off about it. We have one way that we can really show how pissed off we are about it, and that's to go up there and beat Michigan. So they have nothing to gain by talking to the media about it. So I know what they're doing. There's no doubt behind closed doors that they are talking about it, but they have nothing to gain to talk to us about it.
Steve, one of the big talking points is Kyle McCord going in this game. He has not played in this game, obviously, with CJ
Ryan
Stroud.
Day got a lot of Kyle McCord questions today, which to me, Kyle's played pretty well the last few weeks. Red zone, notwithstanding this past week, as I was going back over writing the story, and I'll let you finish your question in a minute, but I just want to get this out there. They kicked 3 field goals in the first 3 quarters of the game last week, and each time they had it down there were 2 incompletions that led to the field goals. And he wasn't sharp in the red zone. I don't feel, but go ahead. That's about the only question I would have about Kyle McCord right now.
Taking that into account, going on the road, playing in arguably the biggest game of his life. Obviously, he played both against Notre Dame on the road and Penn State at home. What is your confidence level in Kyle leading this team to victory on Saturday?
Oh, he seems like he's like the duck going across the water, where he's just kind of going like this. Doesn't say much of anything, but underneath, the legs are going like that, and that to me is Kyle McCord. It just seems like, I wouldn't say he's unflappable, but he seems to handle every situation pretty well. So I think this is another case of where he's going to go in there and play, the best he can play, and probably complete 60% of his throws. And he might throw one to Michigan, I don't know, but otherwise he's going to play well, and they're going to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Mecca Buchan, Cade Stover, and to me, they're gonna move the ball against Michigan. That's just my feeling.
Offensive line, similar question. What is your confidence level in this group going in, playing against what is a pretty good Michigan defense?
It's my biggest concern when I look at this game. I mean, also red zone offense is a huge concern. And Kyle, when he's been pressured this year, is not grading out well at all. He's grading out very bad. He's grading out extremely well when he's not pressured. Michigan's going to blitz the heck out of him. But to answer your question, I've talked about this a lot lately. This is the biggest matchup that I'm going to be focused on, because Ohio State's offensive line, they're not a weakness. They continue to get better. They have, some times where they don't look good at all. But for example, the final play of the first half this past week, where McCord almost got killed. But they continue to get better. But they haven't seen anything like this Michigan D line. I mean, Michigan's defensive line is huge. They're physical and they're deep. I mean, there are two defensive tackles, these sophomores. Kenneth Grant, he's listed at 340. He looks like he's like 370 to me. He moves extremely well. Graham, the other D tackle, former high school state wrestling champion, heavyweight wrestling champion. He's like 315 pounds. And Ohio State, Carson Hinsman, I think, is going to be a really good one here. But as a redshirt freshman at about 295 pounds, that's going to be a tough ask. Now, Ohio State, I think, can at least get a stalemate. If they can win the battle there, if Ohio State's offensive line can win the battle of the line of scrimmage, they're going to win the game. I'm just hoping, from Ohio State's perspective, that they can have a stalemate there. On the other side of the ball, I think Ohio State's D-line is going to get after Michigan's O-line. But I am concerned about Ohio State's O-line against this ferocious, deep, and big Michigan D-line.
The main talking points with Jim Knowles were the fact that last year was kind of the start of what has been the reshaping of this defense. The biggest play they've allowed was that fake snap, double snap, whatever you want to call it, against Rutgers. Other than that, they haven't given up a 40-yard play. Still haven't given one up through the air. I thought Jim Knowles came across more energetic than I remember him last year against Michigan. He seems pretty up for this challenge. What did you take away from kind of his press conference time?
Yeah, I think he's been dealing with it for 365 days, and I think this is the final exam. This is the one that matters the most. And it's kind of a weird scenario this year. It's like they absolutely have to win this game. There is no tomorrow. If they don't win this game, they're probably going to go to the stupid Orange Bowl and play Louisville or something if they don't. And so, and that's not even, nobody cares about that. It's, you've got to beat Michigan. I mean, that's just the way the fact of the matter is. And it's weighing on him and Ryan Day and everybody else at Ohio State right now, because it's been comparatively a good long time since 2019 since it last happened. So I know Knowles was only part of the last couple of these, but for everything that's at stake in the pride and the history of the rivalry, this is one you got to win. There's just no two ways about it. And if you win this game, I'm not sure anything after this really matters. To be honest with you, it'd be great. It would be. I mean, they'll beat Iowa. They'll just show up and beat Iowa. I mean, that's no question. Whoever wins this game beats Iowa by at least 2 to 3 touchdowns, and I don't have any qualms saying that. But then after that, whatever happens. At that point, you would have cleared the big hurdle, which is Michigan. I mean, after the controversy and everything that's going on with this, this is one you got to win. This is good versus evil. I can't put it any other way. I mean, the good's got to win this one. There's just no two ways about it.
When you look at JJ McCarthy, he obviously hurt the Buckeyes last year with a few big throws. To me, he still hasn't been overly impressive this year. They kind of hit him against Penn State in the second half, not throwing a pass or throwing one that was a pass interference call. What is similar to what I asked Steve about Kyle McCord? What is your confidence of him in this game and Ohio State's defense's ability to, he can run, we know that. He'll probably make a few throws, But how do you think Ohio State's defense matches up with JJ McCarthy?
Yeah, I think they're going to have a similar game plan as they did last year. And Ohio State's defense, you can say, well, why would they do that? It didn't work out well for them last year. Well, maybe other factors were at play. Now, I think you have to go into this game with the same game plan. Shut down the run, at least contain the run as much as possible, make JJ try and beat you through the air. He was able to do it last year. I was saying going into the game last year, he can't throw the ball deep. He beat him deep, at least 3 times, broken coverages. But still, I mean, he has not shown the ability to consistently throw the ball down the field. Michigan relies on their running game. As Pat said, they did attempt one pass in the second half against Penn State, but it was a pass interference, so it didn't count. Going a whole half of football and not even attempting a pass. And JJ's a little banged up right now. They're keeping it under wraps. They're saying he's fine. He's a little banged up. I'm guessing it's an ankle. He's trying to hide it, but you can tell he was grimacing last week. So, I mean, you've got to Michigan showed that they're susceptible last week, and it wasn't a huge shock to me because they hadn't played anybody this year. I was impressed how they looked against Penn State. Of course, Penn State didn't play well. Penn State's offense just didn't show up. But to answer your question, JJ McCarthy, you got to try and make Michigan win the game with JJ throwing the ball. They have not proven they can do that.
I'm going to bolt here in just a minute. I agree with what Dave's saying. I think you got to stack up the run the best that you can and make JJ McCarthy prove that he can beat them through the air, something he really hasn't done a whole lot here the last couple of weeks. So there's a stat out there my friend Tony Gerderman shared, I think, back to 2000, the last 19, or however many games it would be, however many games have been played since 2000, 22 games, I guess, since there wasn't one in 2020. The team that's ran the ball for more yards has just won the game every time. So that's a pretty good barometer to kind of put that in the back of your mind, that as much as we talk about throwing the ball and everything else, if Ohio State can get Travion Henderson out into the open a couple times, how big would that be?
Yeah. All right.
I'm going to
head over to basketball. Last thing, Dave, and just kind of picking up on what Steve said there with the run game. You've got Blake Corum, who's obviously been one of the best running backs in the country the last 2 years. Donovan Edwards in that mix too, and then Travion Henderson, who's probably been one of the best running backs in the country these last few weeks. How do you see that breakdown, given what Steve just said, that stat that Tony told us?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, I agree with Steve. I mean, it just goes to who's going to win the battle of the trenches, who's going to run the ball better. And other things can happen if one team has a bunch of turnovers, the other team doesn't. That would negate all of that. But generally speaking, whoever runs the ball better is going to win the game. Whoever wins the battle of the trenches is going to win the game. Those go hand in hand. A lot has changed since the days of Woody and Bo. A lot has changed. One thing that has not changed is the game will be won in the trenches, who runs the ball better. So Ohio State has to establish a running game. So that will free up the passing game. They have to be balanced. And again, Ohio State has to contain Michigan's running game and make JJ beat them with the pass. And we'll see. Blake Corum, not healthy in last year's game, wasn't able to play at all, was he? Maybe he played a little bit.
Snaps.
Yeah, played a little bit. That's right. And Donovan Edwards went off in the second half. So they're talented backs. I will say one more thing. Their offensive line is not as good as I thought. It's a good offensive line. Don't get me wrong. Zinter's a really, really good player. He could have left after last year, would have been a second-day NFL draft pick, in my opinion, second or third round. He'll be drafted at least in the second day this year. I like their center, the guy that transferred in, Nugent. Some of their other offensive linemen have been really struggling. They've been banged up. Number 52, Carson Barnhart, has really been struggling, getting beat. I think Ohio State's defensive line can get after them. But, again, Michigan's offensive line is good, but I think they were billed as being, like, elite. I'm not seeing an elite offensive line. And Ohio State's defensive line just keeps getting better and better and better. Jack Sawyer's now playing like we all expected he would play coming out of high school. When you projected it out 3 years as a 5-star, he's now at the level you thought he'd be at. They're going to get Mike Hall back, which is huge. Tyleek Williams and Ty Hamilton have been playing really well at D-tackle, but getting Mike Hall back will be big. And JT Tumo has been playing great. So I can't wait. I can't wait, my friends. We were, 4 days away? Yep. Oh, it's going to be here before we know. We got Turkey Day in a couple days, and we got the game on Saturday.
Yep. We are both looking forward to it. I think Steve's looking forward to it, wouldn't you say?
Steve's looking forward to it.
Yeah, Steve's looking forward to it.
Not as much as basketball interviews, but he's looking forward to it.
All right. Well, we'll have plenty of more coverage, plenty from today on Bucknuts. The morning 5 tomorrow. I'm doing the Bucknuts happy hour tomorrow afternoon, so we can get it done before Thanksgiving, get it out of the way. So lots of stuff. Stay tuned. And Dave, thanks for taking time. We'll talk to you guys soon.